Good day everyone, I am Beverly Kabiling.
I am John Jude Santos.
I am Glefer Badon.
I am Feliciano D. Inocencio.
I am Moncarlo Romano.
And we are glad to present to you our proposed study entitled Assessment of the Effectiveness of Online Learning to Civil Engineering Students of Bataan Peninsula State University-Main campus. The content of today's discussion will be about our study background, problem statement and research objectives, as well as the significance and conceptual framework of the study. And for the second part is the review of related literature. And to discuss the background of the study, here is Mr. Santos.
Thank you, Ms. Kabiling. So, background of this study. Coronavirus disease is one of the most recent public health issues of global concern. The virus has spread quickly and infected people from around the world, and the World Health Organization (WHO) declared COVID-19 as a global pandemic. As a result of this pandemic, numerous business, industries, and especially educational institutions were affected. Education is one of the country's greatest investments. It's an important aspect of life that plays a vital role in modern industrialization. Therefore, it should not be hampered, but on the other hand, safety is still the number one priority. In line with this, higher education institutions transform conventional learning process into a digital flexible mode, wherein academic staff and students can execute the teaching and learning process without being exposed to the threat associated with pandemic. There were several researches that studied the features, advantages, and limitations of online learning. But only few of them focus on the effectiveness of online learning to the students in technical programs such as civil engineering. In this study, it will focus on a specific university in the province of Bataan, which is Bataan Peninsula State University-Main campus, and assess the effectiveness of online learning to civil engineering students. This study also aims to address the instructor's impact to the students' learning outcomes. It is important to know the learning experience of civil engineering students through online learning, given the fact that students from BPSU main campus are not used to this mode of pedagogy. This will also be relevant for institution due to the fact that it is the first time that the university adopted an alternative mode of learning. Civil engineering, on the other hand, is a technical field with unique demands of interactive laboratory sessions, as well as the face-to-face solving discussions, and the actual experience on several engineering aspects. Therefore, it is relevant to know how civil engineering students technically will show through this mode of pedagogy. Next is statement of the problem, to be discussed by Ms. Badon.
Thank you, Mr. Santos. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, higher education institutions were forced to stop face-to-face learning activities and shift to online learning. Philippines being the country with the slowest connectivity in Asia, flexible learning is vulnerable and can easily pose difficulties. The main problem of the study is the effectiveness of online learning to civil engineering students. The general objective of the research is to assess the effectiveness of online learning to civil engineering students by investigating the factors that can affect the learning outcomes. The research specifically aims to determine the challenges associated with online learning to civil engineering students and instructors, to determine the significant relationship of accessibility, instructors' readiness, learning environment, and learning delivery mode to students' motivation to learn, to highlight the challenges brought by online learning to students' study habits and the instructor's way of teaching, and lastly, to explore the perception of civil engineering students and instructors about online learning. Let us now proceed to significance of the study that will be discussed by Mr. Inocencio.
Thank you, Ms. Badon. This proposed study is created to benefit the following. First, the institution. The study will benefit the institution by providing information regarding the challenges brought by online learning. At the end of the study, the institution will understand more what must change in the online learning process in order to make it more effective to the students. In this case, improvements will be done and problems will be fixed. Next are the instructors. The study will benefit the instructors, especially they are also one of the respondents of the research, and their perception will be addressed. The outcome of the study will help them understand what they need to do and what they need to change in order to make the learning effective for all kinds of students. And then, the parents. Parents are the people who know the students better. The outcome of the study help the parents understand the situation and needs of their children. They will be able to help the students to be more motivated, engaged, and equipped to the online learning process. Next are the civil engineering students. Civil engineering students benefit the most in this study. This study will help the students know and understand the factors that can hinder the effectiveness of online learning. With the provided information by the study, the student will also know the instructor perception and challenges that will make them understand more what is lacked and missing from the online mode of learning. Lastly, as the future researchers, the ideas presented may be used as reference in conducting new research. It also provides other information that will give background regarding the effectiveness of online learning, especially to the civil engineering students. It is significant to explore different countries' online learning situation because this information can be converted into new strategies that can lead to improvement. And next, we are moved to conceptual framework that will be discussed to you by Ms. Kabiling.
Thank you, Mr. Inocencio. And for the conceptual framework of the study, we use an input-process-output model, or also called as the IPO model, to illustrate the schematic diagram of the conceptual framework of the study. The input section consists of the steps we took in order to have the data to be processed and to produce a certain outcome. It includes the conducted research, access to published scientific journals online, a survey, and advice from the professionals, especially on the validation of the questionnaires to be used. To assess the effectiveness of online learning to civil engineering students, we will investigate 6 factors that can influence the learning outcomes. The 6 factors are the accessibility, learning engagement, social and environmental factors, learning motivation, learning satisfaction, and the educator factor. The following factors consist of more specific parameters as shown in the presentation. And for the process component of the IPO model, a self-administered online questionnaire will be provided to the respondents through Google Forms. In this study, we will be having 2 sets of questionnaires, one for the students and one for the instructors. After conducting the survey, quantitative data will be processed and treated statistically. And this data will also be used to determine a significant relationship between each factor investigated. And for the third process, qualitative data will be gathered and summarized. Open-ended questions will be included to have an in-depth understanding on the effectiveness of online learning based on the perception of the students and the instructors. And for the output, the effectiveness of online learning to civil engineering students as well as the students' and instructors' perception regarding it were assessed and determined. And to discuss the recent development regarding our topic as well as the research gaps we aim to fill, here is Mr. Romano.
Thank you, Ms. Kabiling. Starting with Patricia's study entitled College Student Use and Acceptance of Emergency Online Learning Due to COVID-19, investigated the parameters attitude, motivation, perceived behavioral control, and cognitive engagement of the students in order to determine the students' acceptance of online learning. In author's conclusion, it shows that the self-motivation, self-efficiency, and cognitive engagement of college students were reduced, and the use of online material or internet-based learning materials was increased after the transition from traditional to online learning. Meanwhile, Muhammad Adnan, Kainat Anwar explored the perception of Pakistani students regarding the effectiveness of online learning, and they found out that the learning was as effective as traditional learning. Due to the fact that Pakistan is one of the underdeveloped countries wherein internet connectivity is one of their problems. Furthermore, Demoyakor found out the majority of the Chinese students agreed that the learning through online was as effective, as they are satisfied on learning materials and content that were available on them. Demoyakor concluded that effective online learning outcomes depends on the learning content design, community between students and instructor, and the availability of learning materials. Moreover, with these studies, we're able to determine where must focus and where is still needed to study. The gap that the study aims to fill are: instructors' perception can create more in-depth discussion that can make the research more informative. This area has not been explored by other researchers, hence it was included the recommendations for future researcher. Second, learning delivery. either synchronous or asynchronous, it is significant to know if it has significant relationship to students' motivation. Past studies only determine what mode of discussion that students preferred more. Third, instructors, one of the factors affecting the online learning effectiveness of the students. And last, the changes in instructor strategy of teaching online as well as the changes in students' study habits in online environment are both relevant to be addressed. The proposed study will contribute to other higher education institutions' hand for more strategies to make the online pedagogy better. This is where the presentation ends. Thank you for listening and have a good day, everyone.